Follow on, you can join the song. Bring back the light. Light never ending. Through dark of night, this call we are sending. With all our might, bring back the light. Bring back the light. Our hearts are open on solstice night. Queen of the horns and queen of fire, Lord of life, seed of light, flame that warms the coldest night. Queen of the stars, queen of the moon, queen of the horns and queen of fire, Lord of life, seed of light, flame that warms the coldest night. Queen of the stars, queen of the moon, queen of the horns and queen of fire, Lord of life, seed of light, flame that warms the coldest night. Queen of the stars, queen of the moon, queen of the horns and queen of fire, Lord of life, seed of light, flame that warms the coldest night. Queen of the stars, queen of the moon, queen of the horns and queen of fire, Lord of life, seed of light, flame that warms the coldest night. Queen of the stars, queen of the moon, queen of the horns and queen of fire, Lord of life, seed of light, flame that warms the coldest night. Queen of the stars, queen of the moon, queen of the horns and queen of fire, Lord of life, seed of light, flame that warms the coldest night. Queen of the stars, queen of the moon, queen of the horns and queen of fire, hearken to this witch's rune, walk our will as we desire. Lord of life, seed of light, flame that warms the coldest night, bring to us the waxing light, be with us on solstice night. Bring back the light, light is descending to earth tonight, light never ending, to earth tonight, bring back the light, the light, the light. wise woman lived by the sea. Great was her power, a witch was she. Her hair black as night, her eyes green as malachite, her life filled with magic and prophecy. While in that same town, in another part, a woman of song, with love in her heart, waving musical rhymes round those she knew in her time, was led by Diana into the arms. The witch taught this chantress her mysteries, and they practiced the wonders of witchery. In circles of light, two women walked through the night, with colors and numbers and imagery. And one day Diana did so decide, this woman of song had to turn aside from her friend by the sea and find answers inwardly. A magical dream was to be her guide to the answers inside. As the chantress went into her dreams that night, Diana sent visions in sparkling light. Come awake, now arise, call two sisters with fiery eyes, saying that truth is not black or white. And then through the dream mist, a white light shone. On the wings of a raven, perched upon a throne, a magician am I, he said, and he winked an eye. Love casts out fear, you are not alone. He said, there is a magical place I know. Take a ride on my back, and away we'll go. Their journey was short, they soon arrived in the outer court of the wizard who lives where the fall is woe. The wizard said, chantress, reveal thy name to the goddess and the gods, be it so ordained. To the old ones, to the winds, as to which your life will begin when you drink from this cup while the candles flame. She drank from the cup and her name she told to the goddess and the guardians and gods of old. A pentacle of power she received in her magic hour, made by the ribbon from silver and gold. Silver and gold. Then from the east, north, southwest, and beyond, swept for winds and the wizard and Raven were gone. In the crystals she saw herself asleep, as she was before, asleep in the moonlight, but not alone. For someone was standing beside her bed. 'Twas the goddess Diana. Softly she sang, I am queen of the wise, I'm within, I see through your eyes, as I am the weaver, you are
began to disappear, and the enchantress returned from beyond the veil. Once in a month when the moon is full, some secret place shall ye gather, adore the spirit of me who is queen of all the wise, and I
Hear you calling, and I hear you calling.
sing and dance, feast and make love, all in my name. For mine is a spirit in ecstasy, mine is joy on earth, and I hear you calling, and I hear you calling. Mine is the secret that opens the door unto the land of you. Mine is the cup of wine of life, cauldron of care and when, and
I hear you calling, and I hear you calling.
I give freedom and I give peace, reunion with those gone before. I am the mother of all that lives, my love is poured on the earth, and I hear you calling, and
I hear you calling.
I am the beauty of the green earth, white moon among the stars. I am the mystery of the waters, desire in the hearts of man, and I hear you calling, and I hear you calling. I call to your soul, arise, come to me, for I am the heart of nature, and I give life to the universe, for I am she, and I hear you calling,
And I hear you calling.
from me all things to proceed, to me they must return. May your divine, innermost, infinite soul in rapture be embraced, and I hear you calling, and I
lumbar cushion. Lumbar cushion came with a chair. I forgot about it. That's much better. Thank you, Eleanor. That was really nice of you to say.
Sunset moonrise, and see how the land is bathed in silver hue.
Very cool.
You feel so lonely. Come with me and let me show there was just like you, who feel the powers of the sea and sky, a dragon, fairy, shades of the night, hear the call of our ancestors of blood and bone. All woven to the standing stone. Ladies, stir your cauldron well, chant your words and sing your spell. Deep within this darkened hall, hear the goddess cherubim call. See a man alone on a hill, his arms raised high to chanting words, a charm, a spell of power, which is blue. He calls to the powers of earth, sea and sky, a dragon, fairy, shades of the night. He calls to his ancestors of blood and bone. from the illusion into the dream. Later your cauldron well, chant your words and sing your spell. Deep within this darkened hall, hear the goddess Carrigan call. Come and taste of the cauldron's brew and magic she will give to you. You will dance in the eye of the storm, your Carrigan's children, the cauldron born. So we stand on this hill, our shadows are cast by the moon, chanting words, our charm, our spell of power, our witch's bloom. We call to the powers of earth, sea and sky, dragon and fairy, shades of the night. We call to our ancestors of blood and bone, of womb and tomb and standing stone. Please stir your cauldron well, chant your words and sing your spell. Deep within this darkened hall, hear the goddess Carrigan call. Come and taste of the cauldron's brew and magic she will give to you. You will dance in the eye of the storm, your Carrigan's children, the cauldron born. Lay, stir your cauldron well, chant your words and sing your spell. Deep within this darkened hall, hear the goddess Carrigan call. Come and taste of the cauldron's brew and magic she will give to you. You will dance to the eye of the storm, your Carrigan's children, the cauldron born. Your cauldron born, your cauldron born, your cauldron born, your cauldron born, your cauldron born. Yes, sir, cauldron born. Yes. Carrigan's children. That we are. For I will fly free on the wings of ecstasy, and I will dance free to the music of fairies. Hymn of Beltane, Lunason, Samhain, equinox and solstice, from hilltops and forests tonight. To the Sabbath I will ride. death and life again, the union is made. By power of land and of sea, by power of will, so won't it be. For I will fly free on the wings of ecstasy, and I will dance free to the music of fairy. In all Beltane, Luna, sun and Samhain, equinox and solstice, on hilltops in forest tonight. To the Sabbath I will ride. The night is done, the sun will rise upon a brand new day. And I, along with millions, go out to learn our pain. They see just what they want to see. But I dance to the fair queen, she believe of the sun. I wore the oaken crown for one and one, and I'll know it's time to return when I see those pale fires burn. For I will fly free on the wings of ecstasy, and I will dance free to the music of fairy. In all Beltane, Luna, sun and Samhain, equinox and solstice, on hilltops in forest tonight. To the Sabbath I will ride.
Lions. Why is my tab not working? My tab autocomplete for names is not working for some reason. It was working, now it's not working. Oh, there it is, it's working. How come Lily's not coming up when I hit tab? Okay, broadcast is almost ready to start. I'm going to cut back on the sound here so the sound is not drowning me out. Please let me know if the sound level is drowning my voice out or vice versa. I cut back on the volume just now a little bit to ensure that you can hear me. Please let me know if that is not good and I will cut it back more. Okay. Okay, Lily. Welcome to my broadcast. And I presume this is your first time here, so welcome. I do this broadcast every Tuesday night. I've been doing this broadcast for almost 7 years. It'll be 7 years in October. I see my friend Held on Heathen is live too. So, yeah, I do these broadcasts every Tuesday. I am a third-degree Wiccan high priest. I have been initiated I got initiated in 1992, so I'm an initiated priest for that many years. I forgot. 25. Yeah, 25 years, roughly, give or take. So, so I've been doing this since 2010, and I teach a lot of different things, a lot of occult subjects. I talk about Wicca when I'm asked about it. When people ask me about Wicca and its practices, I teach as much as I can. I teach what I know. There are some things about particular things that I may not be able to share, and if that ever comes up, I will say that I can't share it. So officially, it is that hour once more, and officially, I want to welcome everyone to this week's edition of The Witching Hour. And I hope that everybody is good and well, and I hope everything in your life is going well, and I only wish the best for everyone. And, of course, positive light and love to everybody. Oh, demon. They had to pop up that little evil, devilish face there. So, I have a book here called The Principles of Sonic Occultism, Sound as Magic by Tara Warwick. And I picked this up off of Amazon a couple months ago. I forget what I was looking for. But a lot of the ads that they show there on the site is based on your previous searches, and I've done other searches on there for occult stuff. So I don't think I was looking for books at the time, but I saw this book among several others that were written by the same author. So I picked that up and a few others by that same author. So, but yeah, sound is magic, basically using sound to fuel our magic, to drive our magical energy that we raise. And I find that this is entirely true. I believe in it. The music I have playing in the background, for instance, the artist of this music, her name is Gypsy, and she is a witch. She lives in Salem, Massachusetts, and she's put out only 2 albums in the last 25 years or so, but the 2 of them have been treasures, really. Because she has a way in her music that helps you connect to your inner spaces, to find your inner center, your inner self, and in a way you go with the music. It just brings you to where you want to be, to where you need to be at peace, and to be at complete harmony with yourself. So I found this out when I started listening to her music 25 years ago, when I met my elders, and I found them listening to her music also. And I realized then that sound is very magical. It can produce very magical effects. So yes, sound is magic. Very, You know, a very down-to-earth topic, and I felt it a very wise thing to be teaching. So I didn't realize that, so I'm shutting them out. So I started helping people again. Yeah, shutting out is natural. Whether it's fortunate or unfortunate is up to the person to define for the particular situation, but shutting out our abilities, it's almost a natural part of our learning and growth process. It's happened with everybody, I think. It happened to me, you know, because you're overwhelmed. You become overwhelmed by these abilities. They become very scary. You know, it's scary when you begin to feel energies of other people. When you begin to feel the energies that are around us all the time, whether it is energies from other people's auras or whether it's just energy that's kind of drifting around, in the unseen spaces. All this stuff, when we start to walk down the occult path in whatever form we've chosen to, for me it was the Wicca, but whatever we're doing that opens us up in this manner, we start to become influenced by all these things, and all these abilities start to come out and surface. And the first thing we want to do is shut down, because we find it so overwhelming. And there's nothing wrong with that. There really isn't anything wrong. If you feel at that moment you need to shut down, perfectly fine. I would just encourage you to not keep it shut down, because it's such a wondrous thing when you begin to realize the freedom you have experienced. Once you begin to open yourself up, you are experiencing a freedom from enslavement, because this world we live in enslaves us into a certain body of thinking that just totally shuts us down anyway. It has this body of thought, the way we think in this world around us has us shutting down. Don't listen to yourself. No, you can't be trusted. You can't trust your own self, so why even listen to yourself? You know, no, that's so untrue. So I encourage people to please give themselves a chance. You know, don't let the fear of the new experience make you turn away from further experiences, and realize that everything that happens is about you now. Once you start to open up, everything that you're feeling, it's all about you now. You know, it's all part of you. It's all part of what makes you the person that you are. So, never shut down completely, and try to open up again at some point. You know, meditation, always a very good thing to do. When you're feeling overwhelmed, a nice meditation to kind of settle back and become centered once again. It would help you to be able to process the things that you're feeling and everything else that you're starting to experience. That's in part what meditation is for, is to help you be calm, center yourself, so that you can process all this new stuff that's coming in. So a good long meditation is very good. Accept our fault, so to our virtue, the occultum. Oh, sorry about that, Lily. I'm sorry your computer's having trouble. Hey, is everybody able to hear me okay? I just wanted to check back again. I wanted to make sure that I was being heard okay, that the song is not, the music is not overwhelming. And speaking of Sonic's Magic, the particular song in the background that's playing right now is called Lady, and this song specifically refers to our goddess, and our goddess is our everything. I mean, she is our all, the life giver. She gives us life. She gives us everything that we have in this wonderful life of ours. Of course, she can't do what she does without the help of the god, of course. But she is more prominent of the two because she is the one, she is the life giver. You know, she can actually bring forth that life. Just like woman can on earth, she brings life directly from her body in the form of a newborn babe. You know, the goddess brings forth life from her bosom. You know, so it's a wondrous thing, and we love our goddess. We are devoted to her completely and fully. So this song that's playing now is it connects people in a wonderful way. You know, I can remember the first few times that I heard this song, pretty much all this singer's music, when I first heard it, I was so much enthralled at the time. Just opening up to myself, just opening up to this wonderful world of Wicca. And I was in tears a lot of the time just because of joy. You know, I'd never felt such joy and contentment that I felt when I was with the lady, when I was being connected with her. You know, so, and every time we get together for a group meeting, a teaching meeting, you know, I always look forward to those teaching meetings because it had me so I was able to connect again, you know. So, I just didn't want to get too far off the track. So I'm not hearing from anybody that they can't hear me. So I'm presuming that I can be heard. People can hear me okay. Nobody's saying they can't hear me. So I figure you guys can hear me, right? Okay, Sean, thank you. Sean, are you in the other room as well? At witcheschatnetwork.com? Because it just so happens that a lot of the time I'm looking at the chat over there. I forget to look over here. I'm sorry, but sometimes I will forget. But I just happened to click over and I saw your comment. So thank you for saying that you can hear me okay. I appreciate that. That's good. That's very good. Okay, well, yeah, okay, thank you, Baldagita, thank you very much. Lily, it's good to see that you were back again, albeit with your computer problems. Hopefully they will ease off. Emily, you haven't missed anything yet. I'm about to read. Like I said, I am reading from Principles of Sonic Occultism, Sound as Magic. Music which has a mainstream, largely entertainment-driven purpose is not the same as more independent acts and their form and function. The constraints experienced by popular artists and bands prevent them from launching effective occult campaigns because their existence is driven by profit motive and overseen by managers who are involved with the same maximization of money. It is for this primary reason that I laugh at all attempts to point to super spooky occult imagery in mainstream music videos and songs, because its presence there is blatantly and obviously inserted only to attract attention and thus more revenue. If a musical artist or a band of musicians has never played to more than 1,000 people at one time and is lucky to sell a few thousand copies of any album they produce, they have an enormous amount of artistic license and far greater leeway when it comes to designing their own sonic rituals. Not that even most underground musical artists are ritualistic any more than the mainstream acts are. At the top rung of occult musical work, there exist many thousands of individuals and bands which have never made so much as a cent in their work and perform the same for ritualistic purposes without specifically caring about profit at all. I am one of those artists, and I am entirely unconcerned with revenue in the musical sense, specifically because if any motive other than the rituals themselves existed, the rituals would be, to me, utterly useless. We must here differentiate from the stereotype of the mage or witch given by Hollywood and the more authentic derived imagery we ought to be associating with such mystic figures through time. Hollywood used to cast the witch as an old crone, and the wizard as a blue-robed, pointy hat-wearing, bearded hermeticist. Did I say that right? But eventually moved towards adopting a roaring 20s imagery for Magick users, associating them with the fairly common images in turn associated at the time with Satan himself. Through time, we have seen the antiquated Satan, which is a winged serpent, followed by the medieval Satan, which appeared in the form of a vaguely pan-like or gigantic anthropic being. Subsequent to this comes the less maligned and Enlightenment era Satan, representing monarchy and tyranny, and then the Byron-esque Romantic era Satan as the cosmic rebel. In the roaring 20s and into the Depression, Satan became a dapper, rich fellow of great manner and wit, usually wearing a top hat and intermingling with plutocrats and the elite. It is this era of imagery overlapped onto the image of Magick itself, and thus comes the wealthy elite practicing some lost pagan art, or the long-robed white witch with her immaculate gardens and crystals, or the stately and kind old warlock, now of great age, usually instructing one or more very young individuals in a bid to help them with some problem or problems in their lives. Essentially a wise man who merely happens to have special magical powers. It is from this same imagery, and that of a magical elite, that the delusion of satanic or occult elitism comes from. The fact that this is largely due to social alienation, as it was in the Depression formerly, is clear. We see thus the political, social, financial, and religious elite likened to Satan, and often imagery created to mock these groups thus shows Satan instructing, possessing, or influencing these same figures. As such, the lay people presume that these much disliked rich and powerful figures worship the devil unironically or practice black magic. This is roughly the reverse of truth. In fact, most of these figures believe in nothing except for money. It is through this single-minded pursuit of the temporal that we know any occultism they do practice isn't legitimate anyways. This sort of get-rich using the devil material dates to the Enlightenment and is generally just Americana masquerading as biblical lore. The genuine occult is philosophical, academic, and scientific, properly speaking. It isn't about cauldrons and bags of newt size. This imagery comes from the European herbal medicine only associated with occultism because of the burning times and the Malleus Maleficarum. This makes sense. The predisposition of modern-day Abrahamists to call all misunderstood phenomena a form of satanic witchery is roughly identical to the logic of the Inquisition, with the exception that today few of these folks actually kill witches and spend more time on the internet instead talking about evil and hellfire. Therefore, having expunged the obviously flawed concept of elite and pervasive audio occultism, we can focus on a far more accurate version of truth on the subject. True mystic music. True speech is spelled charisma. It is only ever employed by the greedy and materialistic by coincidence and accidents, while the real occultists are rarely identified as such, being either the underground of the underground or preferring to never refer to themselves by any title outside of the secular. Those of us who do embrace the title occultist or witch or user of lost pagan arts and powers, as it may be, don't seek after the top 40 or $1 million record deals, because that would be a major distraction from more worthy endeavors. Oddly, the same internet which has enabled superstitious and delusional Abrahamists to label every song ever made as a form of magic also enables the true underground ritual works of all time to find an audience. It is at the point now where demo material made 30 years ago by someone who self-produced a dozen cassettes can now be fully digitized, cleaned up, and uploaded to the internet, where it might indeed become popular. Virtually nobody has heard of the very good song Plastic Thunder by Bitter Creek, a band about which little is known. The fact that nobody has yet apparently obtained a copy of the B-side of their Soul and Steam album is amusing and frustrating, and were it not for the Nuggets compilations released over time for garage rock essentially from times past, nobody would know the band existed at all, save for the band members themselves and those directly associated with them. Now, though, this song has been spread across the internet and more people will hear it every day than likely ever had copies of their work back in the late 60s when they produced it to begin with. When I discovered their work and the year it was produced, I quickly realized that it may be considered the first heavy metal song ever made, or at least an early example of proto-metal, or at least very good heavy psychedelic a la Iron Butterfly or Steppenwolf. Anybody ever remember the song Inagata Divina by Iron Butterfly? It may be helpful there to class sonic magic into a sort of hierarchy, which allows the concept itself to be more easily understood. Not a strict pecking order delineating one degree Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Lily. And unfortunately, that is so true. Too many people who don't understand Wicca and what we do, they don't understand. They think it's satanic, of course. They always do. Not a strict pecking order delineating one degree of the same as intrinsically more important than any other, but merely a rudimentary classification system which has yet to be spoken of. And they got a little diagram here, manipulative, commercialized. I'm not sure what the diagram is. Anyway, on this simplistic classification scheme, we can depict the different types of sonic music according to the degree to which they are willfully manipulative, as opposed to being so without any specific will to use it as such by whatever individual or group is making it, and the degree to which the material is commercialized. In a statement which can only represent my opinion as an occultist, the Abrahamists usually see a strange inverse of this categorization system when they deride sonic ritual. Then too can we give the categories themselves, loosely speaking of course, for there are always outliers. A. Independently made occult work which is strictly esoteric, generally non-commercialized or limited in release, and which is very open about the fact that it's occult and esoteric. We might think of hexentons, or Almenia, or something of that nature. I'm going to be looking up these bands. I never heard of them, but I'm going to look them up. Blessed be, Lily. Come back. Come back soon. Okay, so B. Random experimental works created by individuals or groups, sometimes not released at all, rarely commercialized, and serving no purpose beyond amusement. They are too numerous to count. C. The general region in which one would find some of the spookier but nonetheless mainstream works. Think of Coven, or any of 1,000 different occult-tinged gothic, metal, or late heavy psychedelic bands, in which occult imagery is deliberate but not ritualistic and is subjugated to a commercial purpose. And you know, it's just, it is sad though, because I think that there may have been, I mean, it has to be, that some of these bands may have started with the concept of wanting to produce something that was magically sonic, you know, and they wanted to do it ritualistically expressed. But then they get into the commercial avenue and things get lost in translation. Because all of a sudden now you got probably a promoter. You know, promoter who's not, unless you find somebody who's willing to stay on the same page with you. You know, the promoter is just all about that, promoting your brand, your presence, trying to find you, booking you tours, whatever. That's all commercial right there. The more exposure he gets you, the more money he makes. So your manager, unless you find a manager that really is going to work in your best interest, the whole idea of the sonic occultism gets lost once they start in the promotional phase. I'm sure there's a lot of bands, like I said, there's a lot of bands out there that probably did start out with that idea. Okay, we want to keep this on the occult level. We want to keep this ritualistically expressed, sonic magic. But, you know, get into the promoting and, you know, some of them, you know, if I was in there, I would hope that I would act right, but maybe I might make the same mistake. I start seeing dollar signs. I would hope that I wouldn't. I can't say either way because I'm not in that situation. But I would like to think that if I started out with the idea that I wanted to produce ritualistically expressed sonic magic music, I would hope that I could keep that goal pure, even through the whole promoting it and everything, and try not to very hardly get into. And if I should start to make money off this in any way, I would definitely, I would be, I wouldn't take that and use it for all sheer pleasure. Maybe I'd, you know, build a school or something noble, and something that has to do with Wicca, of course. A school, I'd build a school or a temple or something. I'd always thought that to myself, that, you know, even notwithstanding it not particularly related to this, but I'd always thought to myself, if I ever made a lot of money somehow, I would do that. I would open a school. I'd build a temple somewhere, you know. And I'd build a big house and have the temple attached to the house. You know, I had a lot of plans, but anyway, as I was saying, I'm sure that there's probably a lot of these bands that started out with that aim, and it just lost in translation once they got down to the commercial end of things. And of course, there are those, as it's already been stated, that there are those who keep it from getting to that level at all. You know, like the B classification, random experimental works created by individuals or groups themselves, not released at all, rarely commercialized, and serving no purpose beyond amusement. Well, I didn't mean that one. I thought that said something else. The A group, independently made occult work, which is strictly esoteric, generally non-commercialized or limited in release, and which is very open about the fact that it's occult and esoteric. So see, that would definitely be something that I would do. You know, I have, if I was to get together with some people, maybe I will before I get too old to do it. You know, I am a good songwriter. I have written a couple of pieces. Never did anything with them, but I wrote them. You know, if I ever can find some people who can help me express the music that I had an idea for, maybe, who knows? You know, maybe I can release it, limited release. You know, I had 2 songs I was working on. One was completed. I had a second one, concept was going on, a good concept. I had a really good concept of a story album, you know. But that's just one example, you know, of how I would express myself, you know. And if something should have become commercialized in some way, no, I would not let myself get carried away and forget where I came from. You know, that's one thing I wouldn't do. I would never forget where I came from, never forget who made it possible for me to have all these things, and that's the Lord and the Lady. Always comes back to them. You know, everything comes back to them. I wouldn't have my life if it weren't for them. Yes, Lily, that we are. We are very accepting. We're very open here. We like to teach people, and we will teach people who are willing to learn. And we are also students ourselves. So if somebody comes in and they have something to teach us, that's wonderful. You know, it's a give and take situation here. So the next classification, the general region. Did I read this? Yeah, I read this one. D, deliberately occult themed works, more mainstream than the last category, and in which the band or artist is themselves dabbling with magic. We might think of Marduk or much modern black metal here. E, mass mysticism works like meditation CDs or self-help tapes sold for profit but using mystic methods. F, one would think of a breakfast cereal jingle here. This is also where 99% of mainstream music goes. The fact that the average Abrahamist sees works in the F category as the most dangerous is hilarious. It is the commercial, widespread nature of the same which allows it to perturb the easily disturbed and frightened. Meanwhile, those occultists actually conducting literal sonic rituals escape unscathed, not because the occultism isn't often obvious in their work, but because they have not commercialized it to a mainstream audience. Even the more commercialized occult-themed or occult-included brands in the C or D categories only face the wrath of the occasional second-rate televangelist or talk show host. Marilyn Manson, for a time, was repeatedly questioned about school shootings, not because there is any link between angry music and the same acts, but because of the dark, angry imagery of his baleful music and his somewhat pessimistic observations of society. That these same moralists who once excoriated him now see his work as tolerably bland and relaxed is even funnier than that they worried about it to begin with. The same zealots have a problem with marketed mystic works. Think any material related to meditation, acupuncture, yoga, self-help on a psychological level, and so forth. Much of this material comes straight from the East to the West and would not be commercialized if presented in its authentic form. Both the secular Westerner and the zealot share the incapability to differentiate between the mass-marketed commercial swill offered to the hour-a-day meditator and the more authentic yogic system. As an occultist, it is easy for me to see through the charade presented by every other self-proclaimed master of yoga or meditation guru, because these folks so often attempt to secularize the same and divorce it from its Eastern mystic connotations so as not to offend a largely Christian audience, but charlatan material it is, for separating the two makes no sense. The material has been transformed severely from a spiritual, if not necessarily religious system, into one which is peddled to middle management workers and has become extremely prevalent in every other charismatic talk given by corporate and industry leaders to try and improve the work habits of their workers in a vain attempt to keep from paying for their sick leave and hospitalizations. Most people, I believe, can think of a few new age sounding tech company CEOs who have done this over time, although mentioning them directly would be a bad idea, legally speaking. They sound like a bunch of LSD dropping wingnuts to me, and I routinely craft rituals designed to communicate with otherworldly entities that even some Abrahamists barely believe in. One final note must be made here. The more independent the occultist is, the less likely they are to possess the means of controlling their ritualistic results in person, at a concert, and so forth. This sad state is negated by the literal and explicit nature of the occultism thus crafted. Since the material is very open about its ritualized content, the psychological and spiritual suggestion made to the one consuming such material acts as a sort of stand-in for the onstage goading which might otherwise need to be used by a more commercialized act with the extra monetary backing needed to travel and play in front of larger crowds. This creative control on both levels is, as formerly mentioned, of massive importance. The ancient basis of sonic magic. It would not be proper to write such a work as this without stating that the basis for sonic ritualism is indeed as old as human spirituality. In a future work, I intend to dwell on what I believe to be a true theory, that mankind was sophisticated long before the archaeological timeline admits, and that what we see as early sophisticated man, megalith building proto-Agarians with a partially nomadic steppe lifestyle, as the theorized built sites like Göbekli Tepe and later the Sumerian ruins we see today, actually represents the remnants of more advanced older cultures forced to migrate by climatic changes during the previous ice age, literally a prior age sort of belief, in which I myself suggest that higher cultures with a level of advancement roughly equivalent to Rome at its height, or the height of any other empire in antiquity, actually developed tens of thousands of years ago. The lack of remains thus found is due either to the sporadic nature of archaeological exploration in the absence of written records to point science in the proper direction, coupled with soil depositing itself through catastrophism over time all over these far older remains, in addition to a lack of will, according to modern archaeology, to undergo a deeper exploration of subsurface remains in areas currently judged to have had little beyond Copper Age development outside of the area currently encompassing a broad slice of land roughly stretching from Italy to Iran, especially in the remains of Turkey, Göbekli Tepe, Syria, Tel Aswad, and perhaps whoever built the remains on Crete. I can't pronounce it. Knossos, certainly not built by King Minos. This person, I don't know who published their book here, but some of the sentences are really long, run-on sentences. If this theory is true, and I hope that I was able to read that clear enough that you could at least partially understand the theory that he intends to produce in a future work. If the theory is true, then most of the surmisings made by Eric von Daniken and others are explained not strictly or solely by ancient astronauts, but rather by the far earlier nature of developed advanced man and the far earlier development of the hallmarks we might associate with the ability to create gigantic structures and organize cities, namely agriculture, or at least horticulturalism, the grid structure, where applicable, hierarchical power structures, and legalism. I knew it was going to do that. I knew it was going to do that. Okay. Hierarchical power structures and legalism to organize a state, proto-state, or similar grouping of human beings. Whether you consider ancient tales of sky people to be important or interpret them literally, the archaeological timeline is wrong and was proven wrong the moment Göbekli Tepe was dated. Before then, science believed that Egypt was the cradle of advanced civilization and Sumeria the cradle of the first organized state. Marcus Agrippa I, you're still here? Are you still listening? I wanted to ask you if you know about this Göbekli, if I'm pronouncing it right, Göbekli Tepe. Do you know anything about that? As I wait on the delay till he hears me. 16 plus from why? How old? Do we have anybody younger than that? Oh, Dark Princess is 15. Okay. Well, as long as they can, as long as they can act mature. Almira kicked me out when I tried coming in at 15. Okay, thank you, Marcus. It's a major site in Turkey and has a lot of questions about it. Oh, you mean the site itself has a lot of questions relating to it, huh? Apparently, it might be levels of development. Right. So apparently, it's theorized to be explain a portion of human's development throughout time or something. Excuse me. Oh. Archer Wanderer McRobert. I guess he didn't want to. Okay. I really wish he'd stick around, but hey. Yes, the journey to whatever you're trying to find out, the journey of knowledge, the journey of spirituality begins within. That's where it starts. It starts with finding yourself. That's where the journey begins. Well, define good. I mean, what do you mean by that? Is she watching? Is Dark Princess watching the broadcast? Yeah, that would be confusing. Thank you, Jaded. I can't see, I guess my player is up there. I see your picture over there, Jaded. I see your video still, but that's because I haven't refreshed the page since I came in. But I'm hoping that Dark Princess can and does decide to tune in so that I may address them directly. Dark Princess, please tell me when you are tuned in and you can hear me. Well, obviously, you'd have to hear me say it. But are you able to hear me, Dark Princess? Are you tuned in now? Charity, I was talking about, there was a reference to a archaeological site in the book that I was reading, and I had asked about if Marcus knew about the site. It's an archaeological site called Göbekli something. Göbekli Tepe. Yeah, Göbekli Tepe, if I'm saying that right. Oh, thank you, Arcana, for posting that. And thank you for the link that you had posted, Valda. And there's still another link here. There's all kinds of ways you can get to the broadcast. But I hope that Dark Princess can find her way so that I can help her out. Excuse me. How did you do that? How did you enclose the link within her name? So yeah, I got into. What I was doing was I was reading the ancient basis for sonic magic, and they were talking about these. His theory, the author was talking about their theory, and they made reference to these archaeological sites that are around the world. Dark Princess cannot see. Can she hear? Okay, now that should have brought her. That should have brought her. Just waiting to see if she is. The last link I sent was directly to the channel itself on YouTube. That's the one that they give me on my broadcaster page, where I'm actually broadcasting from. That's the link that they give me. So that should work. So hopefully Dark Princess will find her way, and I can begin to help her out a little bit. Now she seems like she could use some help. She's trying to find her way, and I would like to help her, help put her in the right direction if I can. Yes, tomorrow's Wednesday, hump day, midweek. After tomorrow, the week begins to go fast. The rest of the week goes by real fast. Oh, yes, okay. Okay, so you can see me now? You can see and hear me now. Okay, wonderful. All right, so now if you want to keep this open, this window, and then go back over to the chat. I don't know if you're still in the chat, right? Okay. So how this works is you post in the chat. You post your questions in the chat, and then I'll answer them. But I understand that you are currently trying to find where you belong, where you think you belong. So I want to try and help you out as much as I can. Now, I cannot tell you where to go. I can't tell you where to go. But based on my knowledge and experience and my wisdom that I've gained, I can sort of help point you in what I think might be the right direction. Only you can make the steps, though. That's why I say I can't tell you where to go. Okay, she's confused as to paths of Wicca. There's a lot of different traditions. A lot of people have formulated their own practices, and a lot of people kind of like rewrote the Bible, if there is one Bible. But there's not really. There is one Bible, that there's a standard that a lot of groups go by. It's called the Witch's Bible, or the Complete Witch's Bible, by Janet and Stuart Farrar. It's an old book. It's been around for a while, though. It's been around since the 80s. But it's still a good standard that a lot of people go by. And I certainly go by it. And that's this book right here. It's a pretty thick book. I have a book stuck inside of it, but it's a pretty thick book. But this contains our rites and practices, and also contains a lot of information about what Wicca is and what it can be to the individual who practices it. And there's a lot of material in here that would explain. There's healing, astral projection, clairvoyance, divination. It talks about being naked too, if people want to practice that way, which I do. It talks about running a coven. It can seem to be, it talks about witchcraft and sex also, but it can be overwhelming at first. When you see a book this size, you don't know what to do. Keep an open mind. Keep an open mind, and only absorb it in short little morsels. You don't want to go reading a whole lot of this all at once, because you will be overwhelmed by all the information in there. Assimilate a small bit at a time and meditate on what you just read to help absorb it. But this is the best basis for Wicca teaching that I can give to you at this point. From my experience and from where I come from and how I was taught, this is the best one. There are other ones out there, and maybe you could find them as time goes on. But I would suggest maybe start here. Don't worry so much about the practices, because the practices as they're put forth in this book are more geared toward covens. The writers do talk a little bit about solitary practice, but the practices themselves in the book are mostly geared toward covens. Don't be concerned about that. Look at the other stuff that's in there. The other stuff that will teach you about Wicca and how we look at things. There's even a chapter in here about morals and ethics with Wicca. Oh, Emily, yes, this is the book right here. I hope I'm holding it high up. There we go. The Witch's Bible, the Complete Witch's Handbook, Janet and Stuart Farrar. As I said, the book came out in 1980 something. Copyright 81-84. So the first print was in 81, and I think it was reprinted in 84. But this is actually the newer format. There is a slightly older book which has the same material, I think, just different cover. The cover looks a little different with the other one. And I think the title's formatted a little bit differently too. I think the other one is, what's it called? The Witch's Bible Complete, I think, or A Witch's Bible Complete, I think is how it's worded. But it's the same material. So, okay, Babby Mickey, or Dark Princess, what specifically, can you give me an example? What sorts of difficulties do you find yourself faced with? What's going through your head while you're trying to decide what path to follow? What's going on up there? You know, consider that to your own self. What are you looking for? Bring it down to that one question. What is it you're looking for? When you think about a spiritual path that you want to follow, what is it that you're looking for? Yes, I can understand that. You're at a very difficult period of your life. You're still under your parents' rule. You know, you still do have to abide by what your parents tell you. And I'm not going to tell you to go against your parents. I'm not here to tell you that. You know, you do have to abide with what your parents tell you. But you have to, at the same time, try and find yourself. Because you've come to this point now where you're beginning to see another reality that's out there. One that nobody else seems to see, or at least not very many seem to see it. There's a different reality, you know. And you're at this point where you want to find out about this other reality. What you need to do is start with yourself. Ask yourself, what am I looking for? What exactly am I looking for? Write it down if you have to. You know, try to keep it. You know, I can't tell you to deliberately. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm not telling you to deliberately undermine your parents. I'm not telling you to deliberately go against their wishes. But if this is really something that you feel the need to do to find out about who you are, then do what you must to, you know, not get caught doing it. You know, because it could be bad for you. You know, I'm not telling you not to do it. I can't tell you not to do it. You know, you are who you are, and you want to know about these things. So I can't tell you not to do it. But again, I want to make it understood that I am not telling you, nor would I tell anybody else at your age, do not deliberately undermine your parents. You're still working in that situation. You're still living under your parents' roof. You do have to abide by their rules. So I'm not telling you to deliberately misbehave and undermine your parents' rules. Follow them. At the same time, you will find a way. You will find a way to continue your search. You know, and hopefully whatever fashion you move in to find out these things, hopefully it won't bring trouble to you, and I hope it doesn't. You know, I'm looking for happiness, a place where I can be me, but there's also this dark part of me that I can't control. I was there. I was 16 years old. I was there. I was exactly where you are. I had a friend who had some occult leanings. I can't ever be sure. I'll never be certain of just where he thought he was going, but he helped me to become aware of this other reality that's operating on a different parallel than this one. So that's what got me involved in the occult. And my first exposure was of a very darkened one, and I liked it. I liked it a lot. The darkness is as elusive as the darkness is, it's very seductive. And it can wrap you up. It can wrap you up like a blanket around you. But because it is darkness and you can't see through that darkness, it's very deceptive. You can't ever be sure of what you are what you're experiencing in there, because it's darkness, it's chaos. You know, again, I can't tell you where to go, because this may be something that you are cut out for, that, you know, that you're definitely supposed to be doing, and I can't tell you, you know, not to do it, you know, because that might affect, you know, that might affect your thinking, so I can't influence you that way. But Wicca is not the work of any devil. I don't believe in the devil as such. The devil is simply something that it's a term that we have found and created in our culture to place on a certain part of ourselves that we fear. You know, it's a darkened part of our soul. You know, it represents our worst fears and nightmares. And I think, going back to Jesus' day, I think if he was teaching anything along those lines, that's what he was teaching us, not to be consumed by that darker part of ourselves. So, but no, we don't believe in any devil. It's man-made. It's a man-made concept. You know, I have a little saying, you know, that I put to use quite regularly. There is no devil but that which man hath created, and therefore exists in his mind alone. And that's where he is. The concept. It's in our minds. It's all up in here. You know, it's an earthbound thing. It's an earthly concept. So get beyond the earthbound. That's where we're really aiming for, is to get beyond the earth, right? Beyond this earth level into the spiritual level. But what do you believe? You say your parents believe Wicca is the work of the devil, but what do you believe? What kind of influence have you had toward this arena? Where did you get the concept of Wicca? Where did you learn about Wicca? Did somebody tell you about it? I mean, did a friend of yours tell you about it? How did you become influenced? How did you first become influenced by Wicca, or the concept? Absolutely, and that, you know, Marcus Wicca. Do not use Wicca or occult studies as a front for teenage rebellion. Spiritual development is not a facade for rebellion. Exactly my point. I couldn't have said it better. Do not use it to rebel against your parents. And unfortunately, they do see it. They will see it that way too. They'll see it because they think it's of the devil. They'll connect that with rebellion. And oh boy. Keep your motives pure. Keep your motives pure. What is it? The things that you're seeking, the knowledge you're seeking about yourself, keep that pure. You know, at this young an age, it's okay to study about yourself and find out about, you can find out about yourself and study your own self and do meditations without having to do anything that's strictly Wicca related. You can do all these other things and not be involved with Wicca at all until such a time as you get a little bit older, and then you're able to do it without it seeming to be a rebellion against your parents. You know, the Lord and Lady, they love their children. They claim their own. They know who their priests and priestesses are. So if you're at a young age and you are in fact one of their hidden children, then later on down the road you will be made aware of that. You'll know it. It'll be a knowing within you at a later time. So don't worry now if you can't practice anything Wicca or whatever, and maybe you can't even study Wicca itself. Learn about yourself first, because you know, when you get into these types of teachings with Wicca and witchcraft, it's going to be about you anyway. It's going to be about you learning about who you are. So start right there. Start doing meditations. Go into your own self. Find out who you are. And in doing so, you'll find out. You may find the answers to all the questions you were trying to ask up to that point. You know, I like to believe that the knowledge of ourselves is imprinted on our spirits, on our spiritual selves, or immortal selves. I think the knowledge of who we are is imprinted on there. So as we live life after life, we learn more and more about ourselves because it's already there. It was there all along. So we learn how to find out ways, we learn how to plug in and plug into that soul and find out these things. Sean Hendricks, my dad thinks he needs to convert my half-brother and my sister, and he thinks everything occult is devil nonsense, so I see where your parents are coming from and don't agree with it. Weak-minded to me. Absolutely it is. Emily, I got balls and told my parents they still don't agree, but hey, it's whatever. It's something that's for you, not them. Right. But again, I want to stress what my brother Marcus Agrippa 1 and the other one, what he said. Don't do this in a way that is going to seem like it's rebelling against your parents. That's why I say that until you reach an age of consent, 16 at least, maybe 17 even, but once you're 16, you got this whole anyway, I lost my thought there. Don't rebel against your parents. You're still living there and you still have to be under their rules. So don't act in any way that's seeming to be rebellious. Be if you got to be a little bit secretive about it, be secretive about it. Do not let them know. Do not let them see what you're trying to do. Somebody stole my lighter the other day. I can't even light my incense. I don't have any matches or anything. I meant to go to the store to get one. Super private ninja mode. There we go. I like that. Lavender Cat, says she continues her studies in super private ninja mode. So I think that's about the best as it could be said. Dark Princess, super private ninja mode. What's this? I told my mom. She cried thinking I was going to kill babies for sacrifices. 5 years later, my mom became a witch. Really? That's interesting. I like to think that, this path helps you to find yourself, and I think it does so in a way that no other path is going to do it. I mean, no two spiritual paths is going to be exactly the same anyway, but I think the way that we teach people to come into contact with themselves, I think is very unique. I don't think it's taught that way in any other religion, and most assuredly Christianity. They don't teach their people to do that. Matter of fact, they teach you that you can't trust your own self. You're flawed. You're sinful. You can't trust your own self. Yes, the goddess will show you. Absolutely. We all say it, Emily. Trust in the Lord and Lady of the Wicca, the God and the goddess. Trust in them. Ask them for strength and courage through this dark time. They will show you the way. That is very good to hear, Davisa, that your mother found herself. That's awesome. And that's kind of like a success story, that at first she was convinced it was
baby killing sacrifices. And then she finds out later on it's not even true, and she becomes a witch herself. That's, you know, it was meant to be, huh? So that's pretty cool. Is anyone here an actual witch? Define actual witch. There we are. So does Liliana have anything else to say other than, is anyone here an actual witch? I don't get this. She's not showing up. Where is she? She's gone? She left? The reason I ask that question is I don't know if I'm a witch or not. Well, nobody can tell you if you are. Yeah, I think Marcus Agrippa makes a good point. If you have to ask that question, then you're not. I'm a believer and crazy. What? I'm a believer and crazy. I feel like I have this energy inside me, but I don't know what it means. Okay. Oh, demon, stop it. Ah, yes, a believer in what? That's right, that's right. Energy guts. That's the interesting way of putting it. Yeah, what do you think magic is? Where do you think it comes from? These are all questions that you need to go inside to find out. Oh, Emily, are you serious? Oh, that's swell. I really, that's really nice to hear. Thank you. So, Dark Princess, are you still around? I saw that you left the other chat room, so I don't know if you're still watching or not. Yeah, this whole awareness that you find when you start down this path, you will think you're going crazy. That's a very natural reaction. You know, and I admit it. I had to be treated psychologically a few times. Yeah, essentially we are, Emily. We are the goddess's babies. We're her children. So, and she does hear our cries. You know, and the answers are sometimes very subtle, but she does answer. We just need to listen within our own selves, and we will hear her. She says, "Let your innermost divine self be enfolded in the rapture of the infinite." I think I said that right. um, but yeah, talking about how when you start down this path seriously and start really getting into yourself, you open up doorways, so to speak, within your own self, and you start to have the super awareness that you didn't have before. You start seeing things from a different way. So, Marcus, yeah, she's gone from this room, but she's still in my YouTube chat. So we think that we're going to go crazy. We think we're losing our minds, which, again, as I say, is a totally natural reaction. And, like I said a few minutes ago, I had to be, on a couple of occasions, I had to seek out psychological treatments to help center myself again, to help myself regain that psychological footing. That doesn't happen to everybody. Don't let that put you off. That doesn't happen to everybody. That's just the way that I had to deal with it. But it's just, I think that it should be, people need to be aware. It does place a psychological stress. It does make you, it puts you in contact with yourself. And let's face it, when somebody is faced with themselves, they may not be ready to accept what they see. Because they're going to see themselves in all their glory. They're going to see the ugly parts of themselves, things that they don't want to admit that they have inside of themselves. But that's all part of being who we are. It's all part and parcel about learning who we are, is seeing these things and being able to say, yes, that's me, that's a part of me. I like that. Caitlin, WDYM, what do you mean? And then GTG, gotta go. Okay. Did she go though? It looked like she did. I don't know. Do you mind if I ask, what is kick? What is KIK? Oh, is that a chat client? Yeah, a chat client, okay. Yes, I can see your comments, Babby. Oh, Baby Mickey, okay, I see. I see, it's just spelled a little differently. I can see you. Yeah, there's a slight delay between what I say something and when you hear it. There's a slight delay. Every time I try to go and mess with the settings in my stream encoder and try to shorten that time, it doesn't work out very well. So I gotta set it at a certain number. All the readings check out okay, so I just leave it alone. Oh, Demon, you're too much. You are really out there tonight, aren't you? All right, well, it is about that time again for me to get on out of here. So, I'll take a few more minutes here if anybody has any questions that you'd like to ask me before I get out of here for this week. And of course, next week I'll continue with the Sonic Occultism. I'll keep reading about that. That sounds like it's going to be very interesting indeed. A little bit stiff sitting here, my knees especially. You're welcome, Baby Mickey. You're welcome. No, I do not, Baby Mickey. This is a once a week stream, Tuesdays, starting at 8 o'clock. And I get off usually about 10 o'clock. I went over a little bit tonight, but usually it's 8 to 10. If I had enough requests for it, I might stream daily. I could, if I had enough requests for it. I've never had anybody ask me to do it. So. I said demon is too much. That's why I said who's too much. Demon. Demon's being a demon. Aren't you, demon? Alright guys, well I think that's going to do it for me for this week. I will see you next Tuesday. And so as I leave you for this week, I leave you with well wishes and best of everything in your lives. And I always like to say that may the light and the love of the Lord and Lady shine upon your path wherever it takes you. So, and for many of you who are just starting on this wonderful journey, that road is going to take you to places you would not believe. So just trust in the Lord and the Lady, and trust in yourself, and allow that magical journey to unfold. You know, don't push it. Don't try grasping after it, because the more that you try to grasp after the concept, after yourself, the more you're just going to end up pushing yourself away. So allow this magical journey to unfold. And it will unfold. Anyway, people, enjoy the rest of your week. Be safe. And you also have a good night. And Baby Mickey, I hope that I was able to help you. And I hope maybe to see you in future broadcasts. And so with that, people, I wish you all a very, very good night. Blessed be and merry part. May the four winds be with you. Blessed be.